The password for the next level is stored in the file data.txt, where all the lowercase and all the uppercase A to Z letters have been rotated by 13 positions. I literally just talked about rot 13, and you can even click on it here. And this is a good thing to know. If you click on this here and it goes to Wikipedia, I mean, you can see that it's the 13th letter and it next to the alphabet. Now, this is really important, okay, because rot 13 shows you right here the correlating letters. All right, so we've got A correlates to N, and M correlates to Z. Okay, now there's a fairly simple way to do this. There's always more than one way to do things, right? So I just mentioned CyberChef. So let's try going to CyberChef, seeing what we can find out. Hopefully you can see. Okay, so this is CyberChef, and I kind of finagled the window so that you can see what it looks like. Otherwise, it's too big. But this is CyberChef, done through the GitHub.io site, and we are specifically interested in rot 13. Okay, so you can go through. These are all the different like networking languages, URL things, forensics, some of the favorites that you can use to decode, or you can just look it up. Rot 13 right here, rot 13, and we just drag it and drop it. Okay. Rotating the lowercase characters, rotating the uppercase characters, and the amount is 13. So basically we put the input here, click bake, or it's set to auto bake, and it gives us the output, right? So we have the password to get into Bandit 11. So let's log into Bandit 11 through Secure Shell. All right, so we're in Bandit 11, /LAH, just in case it's hidden. It's right there. It's not hidden. And we're going to cat, data.txt. So right there, so all of these have been moved, right? So I'm literally going to copy this. To do some editing here, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to paste it, and right there, that's the password. Okay, so you can see it moved all of the letters by 13, and it gave us the password is, and then whatever the password is. Okay, so that is CyberChef, and it makes things super easy. However, I also want to show you the command line option. So remember I said that, everything's been positioned by 13. So when you're on the OverTheWire page and it mentions the different commands that may help you, one of the commands it mentions, which you can overlook very easily, is TR. TR is a Linux command that stands for translate. And so you've got, let's look at the manual page for TR. So this is TR, okay? And of course, just like every command, it's got a lot of different options you can use to translate things, and it essentially uses arrays. Now, if you don't know what arrays are kind of like, it's kind of like a book. Like it's kind of like a container that holds information to be used by the command, okay? So if you look through the manual page, and more importantly, I'll be honest, I think that Google's your best friend, and you can get a lot more information, searching through Google, looking at forums, looking at what other people have posted about how to use different commands quite often compared to just the manual page for all of these commands. So we can pipe the data again into the tr command. All right. So if we cat data.txt and we pipe it into the tr command, what we have to do is give it an array of characters. Now, remember, the characters are uppercase and lowercase, characters. So letters. So we do A through Z, which stands for the uppercase, and A through Z, which stands for the lowercase. Now that's the first array. So this right here is telling the tr command you're going to have letters A through Z capitalized and letters A through Z lowercase, and you've got to work with those, and we need to position them by 13 spots. So we're going to choose a second array and tell it how to position it by 13 spots. Now, the important thing here is that if we go back to the Wikipedia page on rot13, which is where I'm at now, it actually shows us that A shifted by 13 positions becomes N, and Z positioned by 13 positions or moved becomes M. Now that's really important because we're about to tell the tr command how to position it. So A needs to be positioned to N, and Z needs to be positioned to M. And in our second array, that's where we're going to tell it to do that. So basically, the A to Z is now going to become N to Z, and A to M. And same with the lowercase, N to Z, Z, and A to M. Because remember, it moves 13 positions. All right, and that's our second array. So, and this is what we're telling it to do. We're saying these are the characters you've got. All the N to Z's need to become A to M for the uppercase, and all the N to Z's for the lowercase need to become A to M for the lowercase. Okay, because it's moving 13 positions based on what we just saw. So if I hit enter, boom, it gives us that. Now, if the command line interface is, confusing on that command, do some research on it to try to understand it. I tried to explain it as best I could. The important thing that I really want to highlight to you is that there's not just one way to do things. Now, these capture the flag, these war games, Bandit is meant to teach you how to use Linux and operate in a Linux environment and use Linux commands. However, when you have tools at your disposal that will make your life easier, it's okay to use them. Because in the real world, when you're doing a pen test, when you're doing digital forensics, when you're doing anything in cybersecurity, analyzing, working in a security operations center, the important thing is not how you got there. The important thing is that the job got done. That's what's important. Okay. So it is okay to use CyberChef. It's okay to use online tools. As you can see, CyberChef was a lot easier to use once we understood that it was rot13, positioned or rotated, quote unquote, 13 times by 13 positions, as opposed to, understanding the tr command and researching how to use it. And the manual page didn't really explain it well. And then having to go to Google and research it. So I'm also somebody, if I'm doing a pen test, could I write my own payloads, or could I use a tool like Metasploit, which has a ton of different payloads in there and can make my job a lot easier? I'm going to use Metasploit. That's the important thing, is that the job got done. So I just want to demonstrate that for you and show you that lots of times there are other tools that make our life a lot easier, and we don't have to do every single thing manually. So that's OverTheWire Bandit. We got the password, which will get us into level 12 on our next run through. And yeah, we're going to keep running through it.